You, oh, you are live. Hey, everybody. Greg is at the airport in Salt Lake City.
Yes, so I will be on mute a lot.
And he'll join in when he needs to. But I really wanted to start the day. Aaron and I at least got an email this morning from the court, didn't we, Aaron, in the Good Luck appeal case. And the court has delineated the argument time for us. It is, of course, the government's main appeal. So the government lawyer, who is Kara Alsterberg, she gets 30 minutes to start the case. In response to that, Jesse gets 15 minutes. Raphael gets 15 minutes. I get 5 minutes because of the cross appeal that we're doing. I would love to argue all day long, but Jesse really has got this down. He's great at oral argument. And this is his issue. I'm not sad by that, but my argument is going to be kabam on the additional visas, because Judge Maida went to law school, but he didn't go to math school. So I don't know if I'll use that argument. Nicolette Glazer gets 10 minutes, and Michelle Ramos then gets 10 minutes. And I don't know who Michelle Ramos is, honestly. So Julia Greenberg gets 10 minutes, and William Lyon gets 10 minutes. So I didn't add all those 10 minutes up, but it looks like it's probably close to 2.5 hours. I can think of a lot of things I would like to do for 2.5 hours and sit in a courtroom listening to oral argument. And we did talk about our panel last week. We did get the chief judge of the DC Circuit, Sri Srinivasan, who was up for consideration by Obama for Supreme Court. And we also have a recent Trump appointee and a G.W. Bush appointee, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Aaron?
Yep, that's right.
And this is I don't think political affiliation matters here. This is all about government power. That's what this is about. Can the Department of State run the program how they want, however they want, regardless of the consequences? That's the government position. We can do what we want. My 14-year-old son used to say that when he's 14. He's like, do what I want. That's Department of State's defense. The teenage boy defense. Do what I want. I don't know how that's going to go over. We'll see. But that's that argument. But while we're on DV, Aaron, tell us about DV 2022.
Yeah, so for the Boujabour case, the Judge Mehta again, ordered the government to make a filing tomorrow. And the filing is going to give really interesting information because it is going to have their latest up-to-date, up-to-the-minute statistics on both the program as a whole and on our specific plaintiffs. We have been getting a lot of plaintiffs through over about the last 30 days who've gotten approved. And so there should be some good things in there for them. And for those who haven't been, we'll get a little bit of insight into what the government is showing as their case status. Then after that, on the 25th, the next day, we have a status hearing with Judge Mehta about the filing and about the state of the program. So,
now, Aaron, there was a decision yesterday in Jesse's DV case where I think it was a Kentucky judge, if I'm not mistaken, just dismissed the case. I haven't seen the decision. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it.
I did, and it is the judge basically didn't want to get involved in what they said was would amount to micromanaging the administration of the program, which isn't, it isn't surprising. I think the challenge in all of our cases is that is a good one, and it's good for us. It's that the State Department has taken our litigation seriously and seen what's happened over the last few years, and they've actually started issuing a lot of visas, and they're going to issue a good number of visas. So that is a great thing, but it is a challenge to a lawsuit which started off saying that they're not issuing visas, right? So that's kind of the state of play.
Now, what do you think the State Department is going to, we're a day out. Where are they going to be? What's the number they're going to end up with this year, Aaron? Are they going to be close to 55?
People who are smarter than me on this stuff say they're going to exceed 50, which is it's a really good number historically. I mean, that's not where they were a lot of pre-pandemic years.
Well, it wasn't where they were 6 months ago either.
Oh, that's for sure.
There was zero chance they were getting to over 50 6 months ago, and clearly they have diverted a lot of resources in most consulates. I mean, Jesse pointed out yesterday that all but 12 of his clients got their visas issued so far, and those 12 happen to be in countries where the consular chief just decided we're not going to issue DVs. We're not going to do very many of them. I mean, I don't care. Call that what you will. Probably racist, but call what you will.
Let me ask you a question on that. And, in Jesse's case, where the vast majority of them actually got done on there, do you think that, we know the judges are monitoring the progress on these lists that they get in these cases. Do you think that's ultimately influencing, a decision like this where the judge says, well, I don't, maybe saying, well, I don't really need to I'm not going to get in the middle of this whole thing because I know it's not, for the most part, it all got done. If the government was really not doing any of these cases and a huge percentage of them were left over, do you think the judge, might have had a different call in that case?
I do think so. And actually in the decision in Jesse's case, over and over again, they say that the fact that so many plaintiffs were approved cuts against the arguments that the program wasn't being administered in good faith.
This actually goes to the issue that several folks have pointed out about Judge Mehta's numbers, because I've been delving into this recently, getting ready for oral argument, is that Judge Mehta assumed that the people that were selected that then applied had that denial rate, had that 50% denial rate, when in fact, they were the post people. They were the ones left over that would have almost all gotten their visas. Mm-hmm. That it's that internal selection. Hey, you've won, and you don't apply. That happens early on when they don't send their documents in, right, when they don't pay the fees. By August, anybody that's left wants to immigrate, and typically in the past would have been there for the most part. So we'll see what happens. We know how many we have left, Aaron, of our 175 plaintiffs we started with, something like that. Well,
it was fewer than that, but I've been getting updates that come through directly from the plaintiffs, including as recently as this morning with visas issued. But we'll have a hard sense of the numbers after this week.
Yeah, because the judge asked the government to tell him how many of our plaintiffs were left. Mm-hmm. So we'll see, because not every one of our plaintiffs has updated us. I know that's shocking.
And they would say, well, we can go into the SEAC system and see, and it's true, but it's not always very precise, I would say. Like if it says refused, it could be ready to be issued as soon as they, review the high school diploma that was sent in.
Right.
So it's not always very precise. So the better information will come directly from the government.
Now, Aaron, are you coming to DC?
I'm going to be following and cheering with pom-poms from Denver.
So Greg and I have a history going to DC together. So I'll be flying in the night, late the night before, Greg. So I'll let you know where I'm staying offline, but it'll be good practice in the morning. It's in the same building, by the way, that we were in with Judge Mehta. It's that court, the circuit court's in the same building. I love that building.
Yeah.
Maybe the cafeteria will be more open this time. Want to briefly touch on you know what? Oh, Lily would kill us if she was here today because we didn't put any banners up. I feel bad already that we didn't do this. I want to just briefly touch on the EB-5 litigation for Jain. This is the 526 litigation. We have filed our request for discovery. The government response is due next Friday, I believe. And maybe it's the 28th. So whatever the 28th is, that's probably maybe it's September 2nd then. And then we'll get with the court on September 6th. So that's kind of where we are. I think the judge is going to give us what we want, and which will open a big, bright window into the EB-5 program, because we're asking for is stuff that has been really hidden from view, including things like how do you what is the criteria for expedite? Nobody really knows. Nobody knows. So that's that. Go back to Aaron on our Madhavan EB mandamus and wastage litigation. And
Yeah.
Greg's got some stuff to share with us.
Greg, you want to give us the update on the latest stats there?
I can. Hang on a second. Let's see. We tried this when we were rehearsing beforehand. Let's see if I can do it again. So I got to do share screen, and then hang on.
Oh, there you go. Let me add that to the stream.
Right. So
there you go.
Okay. So I love our data scraping tool. Thank you again, Casper, for your for your efforts here. And I'm kind of like I spend a lot of time kind of like slicing and dicing this stuff, but let me just sort of give you the big picture. This, by the way, this little slidey thing on the bottom, I didn't really even know what that did until a while, but since we got the tool, you can kind of see, this was at the beginning, 54, this was like 12 days ago, I think, or 13 days ago. And you can see steady increasing in the approvals, 1 denial, 95, and then it hasn't changed that much over the last couple days, but we're at 111 decisions. The 2 denials, I'm not really sure I haven't heard from the 2 plaintiffs that were the denial cases, and there could be a lot of reasons for that.
The numbers are close. They're probably a husband and wife. The numbers are really close.
Yeah, and then you have, and we're at 165 that are pending. What I can tell you, kind of, looking, and I went through one of the really, I think, fascinating things about this tool is that I can go in, for example, and look and see every step of the process in these cases and see what's been happening on there. So, it gives us a good sense about, what the timelines are. What I can tell you is that we have 27 people whose cases have not had any action in 2022. Those are sort of the laggard cases that we're going to be definitely pushing the government lawyers to focus on obviously those and why they are sort of fallen off track. That's not to say that every case has had stuff in the last couple of weeks, but if there hasn't been any activity in 2022, I'm concerned. So we do have also, as you can see at the top, we have a lot of cases that have been transferred to local offices, and we think that and based on what we've been seeing on these cases, once the transfer happens, that's usually a very good sign. So, for example, on this case that I just opened up, the case was transferred on July 20th. There was an RFE probably for the medical that was sent on August 8th. The person did a good job getting the response in a week, and then 2 days later, there was an approval. So it's a pretty fast timeline now for the cases that are going in. We also noticed there were a bunch of cases that were transferred in March and April that haven't really had activity since then, and we're not really sure sort of like whether they should be categorized the same way as the more recent transfers. But if you got a transfer of your case sometime in the last couple of weeks, that's a good sign. And I can tell you that kind of going through the chart, these transfers have been happening. Like, this is just transfers that have happened this summer, and you can see that it's like a lot. Most of the transfers have happened in the last couple of weeks on there, and that's a very good sign for those people that's happened. So I'm going to stop the sharing the screen now, Chuck.
Jesse, welcome. Good to see you.
Hey, how are you?
Good. We were just going over the Madhavan case. This is really good news. I have a call in to government counsel this morning. Keep in mind, they're 3 hours behind us. So I called. She wasn't at the office yet. So I'll hopefully talk to her today about the status of our plaintiffs. It looks like one thing that was interesting, Greg, is it looks like they finally got to everybody. There's nobody who has been untouched, or maybe 1 or 2 left from November of 2020. Is that right?
We have
Last week there was a lot that were untouched from November 2020.
We have 4 that are left from the last quarter of 2020,
all right,
which is
so
the beginning of this thing. 2,
so
1 from November, 3 from December, and then like I said, there's about another 20 people or so that haven't had any activity since 2021.
So when I talk to government counsel today, she can give me a little explanation of what's going on. One thing is clear to me, though, is if we hadn't sued and threatened to sue for months before that, none of this would be happening. I mean, that's it just wouldn't be. So, I mean, it's a good thing that plaintiffs stepped up because it changes the game for everybody. And obviously, for those who don't get adjudicated by September 30th, we're still on this case. So we'll continue to force their hand on this. And I think with the case that's pending, they really don't want this to go to judgment. They really don't. They don't. So, I mean, it's obviously in our plaintiff's best interest that they get everybody taken care of, even with the class action pending. They want to be able to say, Judge, you don't need a class. We took care of the problem. That's what they want to say. Well, maybe that's the case. It's not the case with our Kang case, is it, Aaron? EADs remain a massive problem. Unfortunately. Jess, we did talk just briefly about DVs. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about DV 2022. We talked what a great job you did on the case. And
I don't know about that.
You did a great job because if you only have 12 people left out of that number, that's an heroic effort. That's
you know, I mean, I think, you know, part of the job is being accountable. And if you leave anyone behind, I think you failed. I mean, that's part of what being a lawyer is. I think people mistake sometimes what it means. And, you know, and when you take a big case like we're doing, you don't really necessarily can count it as a win. But, you know, I'm proud that I think the litigation for DV 2022 has to be taken in context from where we started in February, where they had been like under 2,000. And it's funny because the judge took me to the mat for sure, but really relied on the government efforts after we filed to tell me that I didn't have a case when I filed. And I think that's not exactly, listen, that's federal judge can do whatever she wants to do, and that's okay. At the end of the day, I do have, you know, listen, I think you think it really hurts personally because I don't like losing, and it's annoying. But I think at the end of the day for DV 2022, and I know for sure that the government was not going to do what it's done unless people like IMMPact, Curtis, myself stepped up to force their hand because it hockey sticked. And just like we were talking about with Madhavan, the argument now that the effective litigation strategy for the government is look at what we're doing now. And that's where litigation still works, right? Because fine, but you weren't doing that. But if you want to take 90% of our plaintiffs off the table, like with Kang or with, you know, my case in Preston, it doesn't make those that are left behind feel whole, and that's our responsibility. But at the end of the day, the entire DV 2022 class will win because they will have issued 50,000 visas. So bit humbling for me personally, but I think when I can step away and get perspective, everybody here deserves a round of applause because I think the community at large really won this year. They're going to do more DVs this year than they've done in the last 10.
Oh, 10 years. I mean, they have routinely been below 50,000.
And Jesse, there's still a month to go, so they may, you may find that these 12 people get adjudicated.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm trying to do now, and just so maybe it'll help. I've told the plaintiffs in my case that are remaining that, I hope the State Department has enough of a heart that our consulates that have interviews that don't have like a physical presence requirement, that they do take on and recognize that some consulates just are not doing DVs. I know that they've admitted it. So if people have the means and availability to transfer, why not take them? Put them in for a half-hour interview. I mean, it really is their once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So I'm hoping that happens.
What seems like is that they have sacrificed on the altar of getting DVs done, family cases. Because the good news for our EB adjustment people is that another 40,000 visas are going to flow over.
Yeah.
But what the big change in all this litigation for DVs is they will not go back to where they were. We have now pushed them to where they need to be for future years. So every future year will be judged against this year. and that's good for DBs who win in the future. So play the lottery. Come to America. We need you, by the way. We desperately need you. A couple other cases here. Our K1 Manila case. I'm still waiting to hear back from Lily, Greg. You need to get on her to get me a response. I need to figure out how many we got left here. It's not many. It's like one handful at this point. Our lottery, folks. So this morning, immigration comes out 4 days after they notified people they didn't win that they didn't say they reached the cap. They said they received enough applications to reach the cap. Almost 2 months after the last applications were filed. I did get an apologist say today, well, unfortunately they didn't get their mail opened in time.
Yeah, I wonder what percentage of those applications were from people that had 10 or more entries.
Well, that is the FOIA that is now being filed, because we're going to find out what the bottom line is here, and they're going to know we're still looking at them on this. And it's quite clear how many. Here's my other question: how many of the prospective 85,000 approvals were for the same person with different jobs? Now, you can have more than one H-1B, but you can't have more than one full-time H-1B, and no fool applies for an initial part-time H-1B. You get one, and then everybody else, then you make that part-time, and that's how it works. So I'm really curious to see is how many duplicates there actually are.
Yeah, and as I've said, the FAIR system is you can have as many employers file for you as you want, but the algorithm needs to be set that you get the same chance as anybody who just submits one.
That's right. Now, here's the other thing that Greg and I have been noodling out a little bit through email is this question. When is the H-1B counted? When is it counted? We brought this up last week in the context of immigrant visas. Like, why isn't each of our plaintiffs already have their visa? They filed it, it's available, it should be their visa, end of story, till end of time. So the same thing is for H-1Bs. Historically, we know, I've been practicing long enough, since the beginning of the modern H-1B program in 1990, like Greg, is your visa was counted when you changed your status, or if you were out of the U.S. when you entered the United States. Because it's only then you had an H. If you're out of the country, you don't have an H-1B. You have potential H-1B. And I fear that CIS is literally only counting the petition approvals. And they should be, and I know they would tell you, we returned that number to the pile. We returned that number. That was easy to do, Greg, when there was 195,000 visas and they could, they weren't running out on, before October 1.
Yeah. So although they historically, since the beginning of this, have not run additional lotteries when numbers are going back. So they say they do that, and then they waste them in the end.
So it's a question. If they are not actually counting the visas appropriately, that's a great lawsuit from somebody who didn't win the lottery, because you deprive them of a legal entitlement as part of it. So we're looking at that. We're going to do a little bit of FOIA work and see what's going to go on here. We're also waiting with bated breath that they're going to actually fix the system, which I don't think they will at this point. I think that was a scam on their part. All right, let's do. I know Greg's going to be running here shortly. Greg, before you go, any legislative update you want to share?
Nothing great there. So Stuart Anderson wrote a really good article this week in Forbes, kind of summing up the whole year. The whole year on immigration legislation, which was a lot of false starts. I mean, I shouldn't say false starts. A lot of things passed in the House, a lot of efforts to, and then basically they all get killed at the end because Republicans aren't willing to allow anything to go on a majority vote, and they just will not get 10 votes for even the things where there are 10 Republican votes. They're just not moving on there, like Healthcare Workforce Resilience Act for physicians and nurses. So, there was a question I saw in the chat about like Homeland Security Appropriations Bill and whether there's going to be a recapture. It's like, not as long as Chuck Grassley has anything to say about it. And I think that it's going to depend on, it's like I've been saying this for forever, but if the Democrats don't win 2 seats more in the Senate and keep the House, then we've got another 2 years essentially of nothing happening.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing. If you go Google Stuart Anderson in Forbes, terrific article about all the bills that failed and why. They almost all end up by saying there are not 10 Republican senators to vote for this bill. That's basically end up. Quick questions. Trey Yates, can you ask the government attorney, will they file go case in Supreme Court? Jesse, when they lose, will the government file at SCOTUS? Are we going to SCOTUS for argument, my friend?
Yeah, I think they will. I've started to look at the argument. I think they're in it for the long haul. I don't know. I think I'll tell you though. I don't know if you probably talked about the panel and the makeup.
Yeah, we did a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the response they'll receive from SCOTUS should probably match the response they'll get from the appellate court. I think they share a lot of similarity in the views in terms of and the textual type of does 1182F allow them to shut down visa processing. But I don't think they'll go if it's like if they lose on, well, I think they'll go on reservation or the 1182F issue. But I think if the judges were to come up with a creative way to just say, unreasonably delayed them and issue the visas and maybe get around the hard issues. I don't know how they do that with reservation, but maybe
I guess you'll tell them how they're going to.
Yeah, maybe the government will decline. I mean, I think the government has to be really careful about what they wish for, because I really do think the case before the Supreme Court, if it comes down to kind of a textual interpretation or judicial authority to grant effective relief, those are issues where I think the Supreme Court, as made up today, would be inclined to agree with the plaintiffs.
I would agree, and especially based on my first day of law school when we started Marbury versus Madison, I don't see how somebody like Gorsuch or comes out differently than clearly the words are the words.
Well, and you'd have to count on Sotomayor and Jackson, and Kagan as already being in camp plaintiffs. So yeah, and I hope it doesn't come. I really do hope that they look at what they've done this year and they look at what will be done, and they'll still be half short, right? They'll still have not gotten really. Everyone can leave unhappy. We wouldn't have gotten what we wanted, and the government would not get what they wanted. But I think pushing this thing based on a legal issue is humanly callous, right? It's wrong.
I agree, absolutely.
Well, there's also the question whether the Supreme Court will take it. They don't have to.
Well, if Alito gets a chance to screw immigrants, he's going to take it. So, that's talk about a man who hates his heritage. Karen Biz, what about recapturing unused visas and homelands? Yeah, that's not going to pass. I don't know if you guys saw the Chuck Grassley town hall, and kudos to Chuck Grassley.
Oh yeah, talking about H4s.
10 years old doing a town hall. I mean, my senator never did that. I can't imagine Marsha Blackburn being smart enough to do it. But,
no, I was going to say.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I'm going to have to go in a second, but you left out one case, which was Shulamina.
Oh, well, no, I did say that Nicolette's arguing.
Case? No, the Ukraine case.
Yes. I don't know how that's going to go.
No, the Ukraine case.
Oh, our case. Oh my gosh. Duh. Yes.
That's not on your list yet.
Oh my gosh. Yes. The Ukraine case. We're going to call it the United for Ukraine case. This is the EAD case. We have filed this. Kudos. Yeah. Greg, Jesse, extraordinary work. And Jesse, government interested in this case?
Yeah, that's funny because it's they called on Friday and couldn't get access to the complaint off Pacer yet, but asked us to send them a courtesy copy of our complaint, and it came from someone from DC who's a good friend, and I think they'll take it seriously, and they wanted the complaint so that they could talk to their client about it. And again, this is one of those cases where we hope there's not a legal battle, because at the end of the day, what we're asking for is work authorization as the statute was designed for these Ukrainian refugees. And this is one of our pro bono projects, which, I think it allows us to kind of lean into issues and cases to get what we hope is a quick result on something that should be solvable, without too much fight. And it's really, Greg deserves a ton of credit, as everyone on the screen does, for I think we all looked at the statute. This is how this sausage gets made a little bit, maybe for the audience, but we all looked at it and said, am I wrong? You know, like, am I reading this incorrectly? And I love that, because it gives us a chance to really say and feel confident about our ability to help. And that's when we take action. So, yeah.
That Congress, have a safe flight, Greg. We'll see
Bye-bye.
you soon. If Congress intended it any other way, they would have written it another way. Now, did Congress really intend this? I don't know, but that's the way it's written.
Yeah.
And that's literally, according to our friends at SCOTUS, the only thing that matters. You know, that's plain language of the statute. Let's see. What about this here? Aaron, following Rich Collective DV20, is there any news? Aaron's already updated us early in the show. I would send you back to that. Can you please take a look at how many Facebook visas? What's a Facebook visa? Will be spilled. We already talked about this with Mitha. The projection appears to be between 40 and 45,000. Now, if consulates all of a sudden decide to issue 40,000 visas around the world, then that number goes away. But that's what they're on track for right now. It's insane that DG change from a lot of based on a country. I agree, because the people that got screwed, especially those in Jesse's suit, they're from particular countries where the consular officer chose not to do DVs.
Yeah, and I think, and it's funny because I know Julie Stuffed is out there saying that, you know, they want to do remote interviews and that, and I think, you know, if anyone deserves that, it'd be the DV folks, where they're in remote countries, and their whole aspect of them saying they can't get to it is because, you know, we have staffing issues, or we have availability issues, or there's been COVID. But, you know, these people really just they're at the last step of the process. I think state sometimes fails. They think that you don't apply until you get to the interview, and that's just not true. You actually have an approved petition, right? You've submitted everything, and it can be as little as 10 minutes. And I did the work actually on this, and Britt, and I know he's listening, you know, the approval rates across the board for someone who gets an interview are, you know, always 80 to 90%. Cairo is historically like above 90%. And I know it's not the same everywhere, but it just drives me nuts that we haven't had a better fix for these issues.
Because people are disqualified earlier. They self-select out. They're disqualified earlier in the process.
Yeah.
Which is why the rates are generally as high as they are once you get to the interview stage.
Well, and again, too, like, I think it's the same thing with USCIS on these, with EAD processing and everything else. Like, they don't understand that actually it would benefit them by making the system more efficient. Everybody is a winner, right? But yeah, I'm obviously personally invested in the DV program. It breaks my heart. It really does.
You did great work, Jess. I'm wondering if they're doing 50 cases, or those kids, all of us a small number of early DS submissions left behind. Again, if you're from one of these suspect countries, you may get left behind.
Yeah.
Now, in our Bon Jabor suit, we did sue individual consulates and individual consular officers, and so maybe that makes a little difference with Judge Mehta. I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, we'll see tomorrow we will post what we get from the government. Now, it's due tomorrow, Aaron. So that means, what time is it due tomorrow?
11:59
Eastern time. So don't expect anything during the day tomorrow. Expect it on Thursday is what I'm going to tell you. On your EB visa wasting litigation, how many cases were right now in danger of not getting approved? Well, everybody could get approved. I don't think there's a danger in not getting approved, because everybody's going to get approved. We want everybody, as we've said a million times, everybody approved by September 30th, but the litigation does not go away on September 30th. And we beat down on USCIS after that. So it's kind of, and we have pending motions. So I think we're in good shape on that. Any news about DACA? No. Jesse, no news about DACA. Where, Joe, say it ain't so, Joe. Where is DACA? I don't know. If Urchadu is listening, or Madam Director, where's DACA?
My positive spin on this is maybe they're still working to make sure that when the suit is filed in Texas, that they're bulletproof.
If they don't have that 8 months after closing the comment period, they're never going to have it.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. The outcome of our hearing, you will, of course, hear us right away. My 45 cases are back to Nebraska yesterday. I have I-140 approved medical submitted. No, there's no retaliation for the lawsuit, but there may be something about your case. Jesse, in one of your affidavits, didn't they say something about this? Who got the affidavits there? And we saw the affidavits from the center director or the field director. There was something about a reason something would go back to a service center. Just remembering this off the top of my head, and I can't quite pinpoint what that is.
I mean, I haven't read. I think it was maybe in the MDL case. But
yeah, it was the MDL case. It was the MDL case.
It would have been either questions regarding the underlying I-140 or eligibility questions that they have. But we've also seen cases that go back, like a field office will say, I'm not doing it. It goes back and they just take it. So I think people are looking for consistency in an inconsistent process.
That's an excellent point. Estimate how many EB-145s. I can't estimate that because we have no numbers from the third quarter. So it's impossible to estimate that.
Yeah.
HB lottery ends. We talked about this. I think we're beginning to get a plan together. Those who ready, David Beer published a tweet on has getting 45 adjustments wrong on the proving a green card. Can you comment on that? I did see David's tweets. I think he was retweeting what Brad Banias had wrote about, if I'm not mistaken. And it's what we talked about last couple of weeks, which was when is a number supposed to be assigned to the individual? And it's like the H-1B. It should be assigned in the H-1B context when somebody physically changes their status. Well, the argument is for an adjustment, since a visa has to be available when you file, that visa should be assigned to you when you file, and it should never run out. It's yours, punto, end of story. So my response to that is we're looking at it.
That type of argument too. We talked about this before about how USCIS could really do themselves a great favor because there would be no wastage, there would be no reservation issues. It would be everybody wins.
Yeah, but that would require a little bit of thought. Vasu, there is a call every 2 weeks from Madhavan because we have no news to report other than we just did. So next Wednesday will be our bi-weekly call, right before Labor Day. Do you think the meaning bungee jumperscan face the same fate as Jesse's? I hope not. And we remain positive. We have a very different judge. Our judge knows more about the DV program than any judge in America.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an understatement. So, and now he may be swayed by what a great job the government's doing to fix the problem, but he then may say, well, Mr. Cook, you and Mr. Hall, you guys sued this embassy. And what are those embassies doing? Well, Judge, they didn't adjudicate any. Government, why didn't they adjudicate any when all the other consulates are doing their job? Well, government's resources. Well, why didn't you send them to other consulates? I mean, these are all questions that have to be answered when we meet with the judge in our status conference. And Jay, I don't think we know the number off the top of our head.
I mean, I can tell you that it's as of this data is not current because it's as of a week or two ago, but there were 26 left. But since then, I know of a number of them who have been issued, or I know of one who's at their interview this morning, and so it'll be considerably fewer than 26.
Good, that's awesome news. We're going to keep fighting. Britt Simon, thank you very much. I think Britt is absolutely right. And really, if there is any hero at all in all of these DV litigation over the last 2.5 years, Britt Simon has been. I mean, I didn't know about him and what he was doing on the lottery before all this started. And I think it was a hobby for him, but he's become a beacon of light for a lot of people because there is no human being alive in or out of the government that knows more about the lottery program.
Yeah.
Than Simon does. I mean, that's absolutely true. All right.
Here.
And back to normal. That's what none of us want to sue the Department of State next year on the lottery.
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm lottery. As I say, I'm lotteried out. See, Jesse's it. You're good. This is good news.
No, I take. Hey, listen. I think we all do this. This is what makes us, maybe it's just so our audience will knows. I mean, it's like the wins are easy. It's those losses that stay with you. I think Larry Bird, who's my hero. Even though I'm 43 years old, I still have heroes. But Larry Bird once said that he'll never get over the 1979 finals loss against Michigan State, and he had all that success, but that loss haunts him to this day. So it's fine. It's why I play the game.
It's exactly right, and it's fun to win, but you lose with grace, and we don't want to lose very often. So, all right, guys, been great talking to you. Have a wonderful week. We'll see everybody next Tuesday back here on IMMPact Litigation. I'll be live tomorrow at 1:30ish. Aaron, are you live this week at all?
We are set for Thursday. Yes.
Thursday. And Jesse, are you doing a Facebook Live anywhere this week? Are you?
I'm supposed to maybe get on with Britt and then Sahar and just doing
great
answer to the cat calls on DV and just.
Well, there you go. Tell them both I said hello.
Yeah,
all right, guys. Have a great